Welcome back to Hidden Oaks Homestead. My name is Nicole and I like to educate people about wild foods and wild medicinals that grow all around us. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about pine trees and what their uses are for everybody. Pine trees are an evergreen tree that grows pretty much all over the world. There's a bunch of different kind of pine trees out there. The one that we mostly have down here in the Florida Panhandle is longleaf pines. And the reason for that is that they are cultivated here for industry, for paper production, and we have them all over the place. A lot of our woodlands here are indeed longleaf pine trees or sand pine trees. When we bought our land back in 2018, we bought a lot full of oak trees in the middle of a 6,000 acre pine forest. That pine forest is owned and operated and maintained by a local paper company that comes in every 20 to 30 years to harvest pines. And when we first moved out here, everything was covered in beautiful pine trees everywhere. Then when we moved here in 2020, they came in and harvested. So basically hundreds of acres around our land are now freshly harvested, and the paper company came back and replanted a bunch of pine trees. So now we have fresh seedlings everywhere that are gonna be growing up in the next couple of years to provide beautiful shade and habitat for the local wildlife. Even though we have a lot of oak trees here on our lot, we also still have a lot of pine trees mixed in as well. Pine wood grows really fast and it's beautiful and strong. So we did cut down a couple of pine trees earlier this year to be able to make some boards and build a loft for our son in our barn with it. Pine trees and needle trees have been around for many, many, many years. They've been around before we've been around. So they have been used for many different things over the years. There's been industries built around pine trees, and the tree itself has many medicinal uses as well. Native Americans have used pine trees for building houses and for their tar and medicinal uses for many, many years. So what we're using them for now is nothing new. This knowledge has been around for a long time. However, many of us forgot about everything that we can use that grows around us day in and day out. Now, I'm not somebody who lets things go to waste. We cut up the trees and made boards out of it for the loft. However, I also harvested the needles for a lot of different uses. One of the uses is it's a natural dewormer for our animals. So we harvested a lot of the branches and the needles and fed them fresh to our animals. They love it. They basically attack it right away, and it's a natural dewormer. If you have pines around, cut off a branch every now and then and feed it to your animals. Pine needles are extremely high in vitamin C and vitamin A content. Pine needles have a much higher concentration of vitamin A and vitamin C than a fresh glass of orange juice, for example. So it has a lot of immune properties, immune system properties, and anti-inflammatory properties that we can use on a daily basis by just harvesting fresh needles. As a matter of fact, Native Americans used to drink pine needle tea all the time because of all of its health benefits. They believed it will slow down the aging process as well. So I don't know if there's any research done lately on this, but if it does, it definitely won't hurt drinking pine needle tea. With the high content of vitamin C and vitamin A, there comes a lot of great health benefits with pine needles and pine trees in general. It's a great immune support. It strengthens the cardiovascular system. It improves eye health and skin health. And there are a multitude of ways that you can use pine needles in your daily life to help you support your immune system and your health. As a first step to any kind of wild harvesting is, you don't want to overharvest. With pines, you're really not going to run into this problem, especially in areas where it's abundant everywhere. It's an evergreen tree, so it always bears leaves, and you really can't go wrong with harvesting pine needles. However, you want to be careful on where you harvest it from. So don't harvest from the side of the road. Make sure you're actually out in the forest where there's nothing impacting the cleanliness of air and the cleanliness of the surroundings of those trees and of those wild plants that you're harvesting from. As a testament to its high vitamin C content, when you are harvesting pine needles, you can smell it. You can literally smell the vitamin C oozing from those pine needles. It smells extremely nice, and a tea brewed from fresh pine needles is extremely tasty. You can always add some lemon or orange to it to add a little bit more of flavor to it, but it's really great by itself. From the pine trees that we cut down, I harvested a bunch of needles for personal use. I made tea from it, I made tincture from it, I made infused oil from it, I made infused apple cider vinegar from it, which turns into a really nice balsamic vinegar. So there are tons of different uses, and the first thing that I did with the needles is I brought them inside, I washed them really well to then process them further. The health benefits and applications of pine needles applies to everything that you can make from those pine needles. If you're making an infused oil and you process it further into a salve or into a drawing salve, it really helps heal your skin. It's a great drawing salve, drawing out infection from bites and from any other cuts. It's a great healing salve that you can use in a multiple of different ways. The tincture that I make is something that you can add to teas. You can add it to water. Again, it's a great immune support. It has tons of vitamin C. It has healing properties that really support your body's healing and your health overall. I also tried out some stuff that are not widely used. However, I infused some apple cider vinegar with pine needles, and the taste is absolutely amazing. It tastes like a balsamic vinegar. You can use it as salad dressing. You can use it to cook with. You can use it to spray when you're smoking meat, for example, and it adds a great flavor. And of course, the health benefits that come along with the pine needle infusion. Besides the wood and the needles, you have the pine cones, which provide food for wildlife. The pine seeds, which provide food. You can harvest them as well, of course, if you have enough pines around. The big cones really produce nice seed pods that are edible, either raw or roasted. The pine cones themselves serve as a fantastic fire starter, or you can make some decorations out of them. I have some Christmas decorations that I reuse every year that look amazing and smell amazing on top of that. Of course, there's the landscaping aspect of the trees themselves. They're beautiful trees. They provide shade. They provide great living conditions for wildlife. They have an extremely deep tap root, which helps keep your ground in place and help avoid erosion. The needles are great to use as mulch. You can mulch up any fallen branches and use that as mulch, or build your potting soil out of composted needles and composted wood. There are so many uses for that amazing tree. Take a look at it again. Take a look around yourself and see what's growing around you and find the uses for what you have on your lot and what you have in the wild growing around you everywhere. My goal is to educate you about what grows around you. Now, I am here in the Florida Panhandle, so not everything that grows here grows in different places, but a lot of what grows here grows in other places in other shapes and forms, maybe smaller, maybe bigger, and different varieties. So there's a lot of medicinals and a lot of food that grows around you, where really all you have to do is keep your eyes open, go outside, look around what grows around you, and do some research as to what uses there are for the plants that naturally grow all around you. As I walk around the woods, I always find something new. Some of the plants I know what they are, some I'm not 100% sure what they are and what the uses are. So I make sure I do my own research with books that I have, with apps that I have, and I'll leave some links below on what you can use as some source material. Make sure you identify your plants with knowledge behind it to make sure that you don't harvest something that's going to harm you and that's going to benefit your health. I have a couple of videos out about different medicinals and different foods that grow around here in the wild, and I will continue to add additional videos as I identify more plants and as I run across more plants here locally. My goal is to identify as much as possible in the wild versus growing it in my garden from seed, and being able to harvest wildly where I can.